Hi guys, welcome to Cryptoindia, my weekly show. My name is Diksha, and I'm the head of comms at K.io. In this show, I generally talk about what's been happening in the Indian market and also what's been happening in the Asian market. Um, it's really like a weekly catch up with all of you. Where we can talk various things. Also, yeah, and also highlight some of the major things that we announced this week. Although our community manager does that in his Monday live, called Crypto Fix. But if it's related to if it's media related, or if it's been mentioned in the media, or something about us has been mentioned in the media, then I do talk about it as well. So again, welcome everyone, and let's get started. So obviously, when it comes to the Indian market, um, it's been really bullish, and I was reading that um, despite despite everything that happened a couple of months back regarding the blanket ban rumors and everything, um, the market's really optimistic, and a lot of institutional investors are active in the market. And it also says that the trends also speak a lot about how small investors are passing by it and not really investing much in Bitcoin, even though it's been so bullish. There's no other word for it, but despite that, institutional investors have been really active, and that's the reason that crypto is seeing the kind of growth it's seeing in India. And and companies, a lot of blockchain companies from outside are also investing in homegrown companies in the country, and it's been really bullish. Apart from other announcements that I've already been talking about for the past few weeks around Zepay's NFT ecosystem and all of that, there's nothing really new. But then a couple of exchanges in India have announced that they're going to be supporting ETH 2.0 staking, with the launch, which is scheduled to be launched on December 1. Yeah. Well, talking about Ethereum, I had something really interesting, and I was reading it this morning actually. Which says that last week actually Ethereum, it saw a significant issue, which in the infrastructure, where there was a result. There was a small bug, and the result was that the Ethereum code that split the network's transaction history into two parts. And the turmoil actually began when a major service outage struck in Fura around 8 coordinated universal time, which is UTC, prompting some exchanges to halt at an ERC-20 token withdrawals temporarily. But that's was temporary, as I said, and it turns out the bug was actually intentionally triggered, and which explaining that the team noticed the bug, but almost all nodes had upgraded to fix it, and they decided to test the bug later and see what would have happened. And this outage actually was a bug in the Go Ethereum client, which is used by 80% of Ethereum applications. Um, so that was kind of major, and it took a lot of time to actually get all node operators to update consensus of DOS fixes. Always runs the risk, it also runs the risk of someone trying to beat updaters to actually stop the line and taking the entire network down. So that kind of happened in Fura, and also other services were definitely affected by the chain split. And have since fixed the issue by updating their notes. So all of that has been fixed, and the price of it itself is not really affected at all by this. And yeah, let's talk about Bitcoin. For the first time in 3 years, as you know, Bitcoin surpassed 16K, and now touched 17K after of consolidating. Now are now almost consolidated at 17K. And if you look at the growth, it's up by 123% this year. And a lot of hedge fund investors and advisors have said that Bitcoin's a part of, and you could anticipate 3 to 4 year decline in the dollar. And frankly, we also talked about how crypto peaked. um, you know Crypto actually um, outperformed gold and all these assets. And also, Bloomberg kind of reported that one of their commodity strategists reported that Bitcoin may break $20K in 2021. And since Bitcoin's been so bullish, there are a lot of such announcements. And I'm also reading that someone from Citibank, they're one of the major executives, talked about how it could also reach over 100,000 by next year. And that's really exciting. I mean, in last 2 days, Bitcoin's been growing so much in just the last 2 days, and in fact, it just fell a bit in the last 2 minutes when I saw it. But it's really interesting, and seems very exciting. Also, let's talk about how the crypto community in the U.S. is really optimistic. Where with the U.S. President elect Joe Biden's election, so he has tapped former Commodity Futures Trading Commission chairman to lead the financial policy transition team and advise on Wall Street during his administration, which is very crypto friendly, and looks like US is going to do better with crypto in the coming years. Well, this about Bitcoin, there's something really interesting about how more equitably distributed Bitcoin is than other cryptos, even though in the start of the year it wasn't. And this is a recent research that this company called CoinMatrix did. And even as Bitcoin continues to be the primary crypto asset custody, owned by the financial institutions, like you know Bitcoin looks more like a grassroots movement. And it's kind of it's really working on the wealth inequality. And the first inequality metric is the supply quality ratio, is the ratio of the poorest accounts, the sum held by all accounts with the balance less than 0.00001% of the supply, against the richest accounts, which is total held up by 1% of the addresses. So compared to other crypto assets, Bitcoin supply equity ratio is much higher at 0.08 compared to below 0.04 for Ethereum. I mean, how interesting this is, because when we talk about digital money, that's one of the really important problems that we could look at solving, the inequality of wealth between the richest and the poorest. And Coinmetrics, while this research also looked at the supply dimension through a metric called the network distribution factor, a ratio which kind of looks at a broader economic group, group which is more equivalent to the middle and the lower class income classes, which is calculated by taking the aggregate supply in addresses holding more than 0.01% of crypto assets supply and dividing them by the supply itself. And Bitcoin continues to have the highest distribution factor, even there, greater than zero point 0.6 compared to zero point 0.5 for Decred. And so that's very interesting. And well, there is something I read yesterday, and I want to tell. I want to talk about it. It's commonly known in the crypto community that oracles are a tricky thing to use and implement. But there was a post, which says that with it looks at the real life example of someone who wanted to go backstage to a concert to meet the band, and it's updated its Wikipedia page to say he was a family member right before he approached the security guards. And this is kind of a you know it's kind of an example, which is very interesting when it comes to the community, the crypto community, that oracles are a tricky thing to implement. And other examples, which could be manipulating prices on Uniswap, where prices are constantly fluctuating. So that's again very interesting. And jumping off to Ethereum 2.0, Ethereum 2.0 is looking at community staking grants. And if you're interested in building the ETH2 staking and validator community, the Ethereum Foundation is sponsoring a wave of ETH2 staking community grants, funding the creation of tools, documentation, and resources to make for a delightful staking and validator experience. And anyone who wants to participate can submit their proposal by December 22, 2020. And since we talked about how Europe Central Bank is looking at a CBDC, a potential CBDC, and they've also released a survey for everyone to participate, to look at whether we should have a CBDC or not, and what are the pros and what are the cons. And we talked about this last week, and the decision is yet to be taken. And the interesting part is that everybody is allowed to take part in that decision, the community overall, and the decision has to be taken collectively, as they still had to address some concerns when it comes to making a final decision on a CBDC. But what she mentions, what I read is that she said it will take some time and it will only come in by 2021. Well, other than that, this week we had released an announcement talking about the DeFi ecosystem, and also where our CMO also quoted a couple of things about the DeFi. How excited and how supportive we are of the DeFi boom, and because we really believe in it, believe in decentralized finance concept. We actually looked at what we did for DeFi in DeFi on Gate.io specifically, and we had actually listed more than 45, around I think 47 to 48 DeFi tokens in last 3 months since August. And the volumes have been great, and a lot of them are doing really, really well. And in fact, if I'm not wrong, for most of them, for a bunch of them, not for most of them, for a bunch of them, we are in the top 3 exchanges that people should be trading the coins at. And so we released this announcement. We also talked about that we're still awaiting. We're as we speak, we're developing our DeFi ecosystem, which is built on the Gate chain platform, and it kind of received a lot of coverage on the media, and we've been tweeting about it. So you should check out our social channels and read the articles. And also, we have a lot of exciting news coming up in the coming few weeks, in the coming 2 to 3 weeks specifically. And let's see what all innovative are we coming up with, because there's so much happening behind the scenes right now that I know of. But I'll keep you posted in the coming weeks. And also, guys, the Trader Corp webinar, which was huge hit, is finally over. But then you don't worry, because we have put all the content, all these videos, the tutorials, the webinars, it's a lot of good content, trust me, and we've put all of that on our YouTube channel, and you should go there and check it out. And especially his educational webinars, which are about 2 to 3 hours long, but they're so informative. If you want to understand how to trade on Gate.io and want to understand generally how to trade, look at some of the smart strategies that veteran traders do follow, then and how to think about trading really smartly, and not to fall to a lot of the market signals that are designed to make you fall and lose money. So there are a lot of smart tricks and tips that he's talked about. I personally watched all the seasons, and they're really interesting. So do watch all the content on our YouTube channel, guys. It's all in there, okay? And I think that's all I have for today. And I'm gonna close the discussion now, but I'll see you with more exciting stuff happening around the world and at Gator Live definitely next week. Same time. Bye.